All right, we're back and in full effect, right? Me, if you've noticed, I'm in a closet. I don't know if you would figure that out, but I am a closet. Dan's,
I wouldn't.
it
Yeah,
looks
you
like,
asked me where I was. I asked you
yeah,
yours is. I'm at my gym. That's where I am. I'm at my gym. So this is my second house. So I feel my house is flooded with my daughter and my nieces running around screaming, hopped up on
yeah,
chocolate. So
yeah,
that's why I've come to the gym to be far less or else you would have constant screaming from 3-year-old girls in the background of the rest of the show. So
yeah.
I
I know
feel
what
like
you
this is
mean.
the best. This is the best decision for me.
Yeah, the professional decision, right? To not
It's a
have
professional decision. You know what I mean?
exactly. You gotta make
They're
those.
very distracting. I've done a few shows with the girls in the background, and it's very distracting.
It
They're
is.
coming
It
up in the
is.
background. You just feel bad. Like you feel terrible. Like they're coming up and they're just like they just want you to play with them and stuff, and you're just like, go away. I feel bad. So at least now
Yeah.
I don't feel bad.
Yeah, you gotta separate yourself from that sometimes. I know exactly what you mean, man. Those when little girls get together, it's boys are wild, but the girls get wild too, man. It's not a
I just got a
joke with
cat.
them.
I just got a cat. I got a cat as well. So they're like just losing their minds over the cat as well. The cat will be knocking my phone over every 5 seconds too.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't know how you handle a pet and a child. I did have a dog like when my daughter was born. I did have a dog, and then I guess someone told someone that if you have a dog when you're young around the baby, it helps their immune system. And I
Heard
don't know
that.
if that's bro science or what, but that's what people would say. And then we kept the dog around for a while until the dog seemed like it was a
Most
danger to
of
the baby.
most of everything I know is bro science. It's based entirely off a guy said something to me at the gym, and then I've just constructed my life around that and tell other people like it's pure facts. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, man,
Bro
I love
science
it
is the
too.
best.
And sometimes
Jim,
the
Jim down the bench press told me that.
uh,
You know what I mean? This is
yeah,
how
if
it's
I
done.
yeah, if I tweak this a little bit on my bench press, my titties would become much larger. You know what I mean? Like you gotta do that.
Oh,
So
mate, we're
it,
on the
what can
swole.
you do?
We're on the swole game now, brother.
Yeah, man. You look big. You do look
We
big though. I ain't
happy,
gonna lie.
brother. We happy.
You jacked, bro. You jacked.
He's a happy man. Trust me.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Let's man, the biggest news I think from this last card, UFC Vegas 251,
My question
is this
before we get into that, what was like this card's like basis? You know, how you see some cards and they're like mainly Brazilian fighters, and you can tell like, oh, this was if the world was normal and there was no pandemic, like this would be a Brazilian based card. Like I can't understand the objective. Like having two guys off the contender series co-main event a card is like a pretty big risk. I don't know what a
Yeah, I think they're at the point where with these fight night shows, it's just like whoever they want to put on the card, and sometimes co-main event fights fall apart. I don't know if it did. I don't remember with this card, but yeah, it's just thin in a way. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get these
mm-hmm.
incredible
Just the
fight
names.
night
Like
cards.
there were a couple like I'm like real. I'm not like criticizing that card in any way. I feel like coming out here and just being like, like people get on the base and they're just like, card was, oh, card was this, card was that. Like, I'll never like criticize a card because like I've had man, this is like the biggest example of that is like my friend Emilio. I don't know if you know Emilio from Tiger Muay Thai, and then he was over and he was fighting in like one championship, and he just went to like absolute war with this guy. And I remember watching. I can't remember who he fought, but he just like went to absolute war with this guy. You know what I mean? Like ate some shots, like went nuts. I was like, man, and then I saw that, he had to go, my friend Emily had to go to the hospital and that after the fight. So I was like, and then I saw the president of one championship, it was on one championship, like come out and apologize for the card. like he came out and he was like, guys, I apologize for this card. Like this card was shit, blah blah blah. And I responded to him. I like tweeted to him. I don't know if you often tweet Chachi or whatever. And I tweeted him. I can't remember if it was Twitter or Facebook. I think it might have been Facebook. And I was just like, forgive me, but my friend just gave like a piece of himself to put on this card, and now you're like apologizing for it. I feel like it's a bit disrespectful, you know what I mean? So rather than say like the card wasn't staying, like I just say I wasn't educated enough on the fighters before the fight. You know what? I didn't, my bad. I didn't familiarize myself with the fighters before the card, because obviously everyone understands that the more familiar you are with the fighters, the more you have an understanding of their backgrounds, where they're coming, their objectives, like where they're going. Like that definitely adds like anticipation to the event. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, yeah. So my bad. No criticism.
Well, even myself, you know what I mean? A person that covers the sport, it's hard to keep up with every fighter even just every fighter in the UFC. You know what I mean? Like these guys coming off the Contender Series, the Ultimate Fighter, getting signed on short notice. Sometimes guys fight, or even women fight like twice and get cut, and I don't remember anything about their career, anything in the UFC.
Well,
And
there are definitely like times. There are definitely times like of like the UFC history that I have known the full roster. You know what I mean? Like I've known it top to bottom. I know every fighter. I know his reach. I know what he's trying to accomplish. But yeah, as you're saying, like you put the sport down, or you close your book for like a month or two, and that the landscape of it completely changes. Like these guys just getting pumped in through the Contender Series is like a pretty big thing coming from other organizations. So there's just so many people getting added to the roster now. It's it's a pretty interesting time.
it is. And some people could look at it negatively, but I could look at it positively and say these guys are getting opportunities, man, that they would have never got maybe even like 5 years ago as a guy coming into the UFC.
No way even pre-Contender Series. Even like this is, I feel like, a turning point. Like we've seen a lot of big names come out of the Contender Series, but even that shows you how important it is to the machine of the UFC that guys are coming off the Contender Series and coming into the UFC as a co-main event. Because generally you fight in a co-main event, you win, your next fight is a main event. That's just how like the UFC works, or at the very least co-main event or something like that on a UFC pay-per-view event. So to have an opportunity to fast track your career like that is it's pretty incredible for the guy that wins.
Yeah.
For the guy that wins. For the guy that loses, I guess it just adds a bit more pressure. Adds a bit more pressure for him to kind of move past that and get through that and develop from that loss, because there's so many people watching it, and there's like going to be obviously some like people being hypercritical, like a lot of people being hypercritical of you, because so many people saw the result of that fight.
Do you think, becoming a UFC champion, right? Being on the UFC roster is a big thing. And then the next level would be to become a contender, a ranked guy. And then after that, you become the champion, right? Do you think becoming the champion, I don't know if it's not as important now than it was 5 years ago, but there seems to be more guys not really chasing the title and just chasing money. You see guys taking the long way to the title, or taking different paths with their UFC career, and fighting guys that are up and coming, and just continuing to fight guys that are up and coming. Like there's this new path, like a Sean O'Malley, or like even a Paddy Pimblett or something like that, guys that aren't fighting what they say they want to fight. You know what I mean? Like they're always out there saying like, I want to fight this dude. Like I'm this good. I could snap this dude's arm. I could break this dude's leg. Like there's guys out there doing that. You know what I mean? Like they're not really fighting the best guys, but they're out there in the media so much.
Yeah, well, I guess it's up to them each individually. Like those guys have both been pretty vocal about why they don't want ranked opportunities, or why they don't want those guys further up the chain, because obviously things get a lot tougher and there's no going back. And they've been open about it. They've said that they don't want to fight like guys of that caliber for like the money they're on. So they're going to keep developing until their contract runs out, and then negotiate a new contract, and then fight those bigger name guys. And because you can see it at the like the upper echelon, there's very few guys that can keep that winning streak and keep those. It's obviously like a lot harder to get finishes. It's a lot harder to be impressive at that top echelon of the sport. Like things just become a bit more difficult, just because everyone's so well rounded. Everyone's fit. Everyone's everyone's like the complete package, and fights become like a bit of a coin flip at that upper echelon. So it's guys that just want to get paid before they step into the mix. Like Paddy was come out after his. He's on the base rate. He's on that 12 and 12 contracts. And for the kind of attention that guy's drawing, that's pretty incredible that he signed that contract.
Yeah. Well, he's got that contract, I believe, with Barstool, and Sean O'Malley, same thing. He's got his own thing going on with his show and everything. So, good luck to them, man. If they want to take that avenue,
of course, I can see that. Like if they're, their money, their main source of income is not their UFC, right? Their main source of income is their sponsors and everything they've got outside of that, their promotion, like their marketability, like that's more valuable to them than beating guys in the UFC. And so the wheels of that only keep spinning. Like the wheels of the sponsors and the promotion and the marketability only keep spinning as long as you keep winning. Obviously, if those guys, Sean O'Malley loses his next fight, if Paddy Pimblett loses the next fight, you will see the sponsors start to draw off. Like sponsors in our sport are very, they're very
fickle.
They're very well. This sport is very fickle, I would say. Yeah. Like the fans of the sport, like the understanding of the sport, is very, like, that's just a part of the sport. This is not something new to me. This is something that I've known and watched the whole time I've been competing as a UFC athlete. It's just an incredibly fickle sport. So I can understand why these guys are being a bit more cautious about the fights that they pick.
For real. And let's look at this main event, man. Vicente Luque, he goes in there, already has a win over Belal Muhammad 4 years ago. And when I talked to Vicente, he seemed to have a different mentality heading into this fight compared to when he first fought him and took him out in 90 seconds. I don't know, watching the fight, all 5 rounds, Luque didn't seem like himself. Sometimes you get guys that are like him, high-level finishers, and they just look flat sometimes. You know what I mean? Every day you can't come into the gym being, superhuman.
Yeah, but that's like a lot of people say that. We just see a guy get beaten and we say, oh, he wasn't himself. He didn't look like... No, that was him. Like, that was him in there. He's just fighting like a better Belal Muhammad that stepped in there with him 4 years ago. The 4 years, Belal Muhammad has made some pretty big improvements to this game, and you can see that because that's a result of them. That's rule 1 of rematches. Never take a rematch unless you think or you can do better than the first time. That's the rule. That's rule 1 of rematches. Like he would have internally had that win over Belal. Like he could have always just rode that 90-second knockout. That's hard. That's a very hard thing to beat. Obviously, he jumped on it because of the rankings. He jumped on it because of the opportunity to fight in a main event. But yeah, this is the sport of high risk, high reward.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing impressive about Belal Muhammad in his last couple of fights is that his team just put out the game plan, and he executed the game plan really well, man. Like he just understands what he needs to do to beat a certain type of style with his style. It might not be the prettiest. It might not be the flashiest. You know what I mean? It might not be the most intimidating style, but he wins fights. And now he's in a position to where he gets to fight one of the bigger names, one of the marquee names. You know what I mean? Luque is a big name in the division, but he's not, let's be real, he's not the Colby Covingtons. He's not the Hamzat Chimaev level of popularity and clout, so to say. What did you think about his execution, man? Every time that takedown, like right in the middle of the round, he would get it on Luque.
Yeah.
I don't remember Luque getting taken down that easily.
I haven't. Muhammad showed some very good improvements in his ability to move. Like I felt like his movement was the best I've ever seen inside the UFC, and that drew Luque in to those takedowns. Like he was trying to obviously force Belal onto the back foot, but wasn't really able to cut Belal off the way that he would have liked to, or the way that he would have expected to. You could tell. So Belal was able to shift and obviously turn Luque into the double leg. So he kept hitting it. Belal's movement was wow. Obviously, a guy moving like that so much is gonna obviously he's using more energy than the other guy. And Belal was able to really push through that fatigue of that extra movement that he doesn't usually mix into his game. So I'd say overall, very impressive performance. Like that's kind of what we that's kind of the game that Belal usually does. That's just a bit more movement. So he kind of just showed that ability to adjust and just a new feather in his cap. You know what I mean? That's beating a world-class striker and showing those new skills that he has in his game to capitalize on a world-class striker. So yeah, give him a little round of applause. I will.
Yeah, definitely a round of applause. Yeah, just the word that I was trying to think of is effective. He's very effective at what he does. And and I hope, he gets the matchup, man. It seems like he's not really the most popular fighter, but if the UFC, wants to do him a solid, they would give him Colby Covington and see what Colby Covington can do with it. You know what I mean? And one thing about Belal, he'll go back and forth with people, right?
Yeah,
And
I think they're already going to go for that. Hamza Colby, like that was sold to us before the
weeks
Gilbert
ago.
Burns fight. Like that was already sold to us, so we're kind of already expecting that. Obviously, he's going to get a big name. Belal Muhammad's going to move forward with like a big name, but I would say it's more going to be like maybe even a Masvidal. Maybe like he needs that name before he gets that big name opportunity. You know what I mean? That's a guy like Jorge, who's just a massive name. He's a pay-per-view seller, one of the only guys in the UFC getting pay-per-view points. That's a good opportunity for Belal, and it's a good opportunity for Jorge. He obviously, if he wants to get back in the mix, he beats Belal Muhammad. He's back competing in that top 5 in that upper echelon of a one fight. Pretty similar, a guy that's going to pressure in and wrestle him. So it's pretty similar to like his last camp, which he would have already been through. I'm sure he made some improvements on his wrestling, even if they weren't as effective in his last fight. So yeah, I feel like that's probably like fighting down the rankings, but he's getting like a much bigger name to add to his momentum. And as we know, momentum in this game is a massive thing to have behind you.
I didn't even think about that. I think that would probably be more reward, less risk for Muhammad in extreme ways, right? Especially like a turning point in his career. That would change his life if he goes in there and fights somebody on pay-per-view like a Jorge Masvidal and wins and then gets the next shot at the title or something like that, right? And like you said, vice versa. Jorge needs a victory like Belal Muhammad, someone like that. Someone's coming up on a winning streak that they're talking about fighting for the title and puts him back in the mix and puts him back into that big money conversation. You know what I mean? Like you said, pay-per-view points, it all depends on how much you sell, right? And bigger the fights, the more tickets you will sell, the more pay-per-views you will sell. So yeah, Jorge, he's in this kind of like limbo right now, but Belal Muhammad is actually a great fight for him, and vice versa. Bilal's just set on fighting Colby Covington. You know what I mean? Like, I guess there's, that whole
Well, regardless,
beef
I
thing.
can definitely understand it. Like even if he thinks like even if a fighter and if I was sitting in his shoes, right, even if I think they're probably going to give me Jorge Masvidal next, and Jorge Masvidal is probably back in line than the guy I already just beat, even though he's a bigger name. You always call for someone higher above because it sets your attention. Regardless, a guy like Covey Covington is going to respond. Like, I'm sure, I'm not on Twitter right now because I'm talking to you. I'm sure Covey Covington is going to respond. I'm sure Belal is going to have the opportunity. Like, that's going to create some kind of attention as well over the next couple of weeks. You know, Colby gets attention, Belal gets attention. They both get to build their brands. So it's just, yeah, it's like a win-win-win situation for absolutely everyone. And as a fighter, like, that's the positions that you want to continually put yourself in is win-win situation.
A lot of people in the chat right now, and I'm pretty sure on Twitter, are saying that Belal should fight Burns next. Burns is coming off the loss. Bilal's moving upwards. Burns is kind of moving downwards. They can meet in the middle. That's actually a good contenders fight, and he just beat Luque. Luque is like really good friends with Burns. There's that connection as well.
You can sell that. Was he in the corner? Was good with Burns?
He was in the corner. He was in the corner.
Well, there you go. You got a couple of clips of Burns like evil, giving him the evil stare, a bit of a death stare after the fight. Yeah, that's a win-win situation. I'm sure like Burns has already been saying he wants to get back out there and get on a win streak. That's an incredible fight. That's a fight I would love to see.
Yeah, I love the type of fighter Gilbert Burns is. Like, he's one of the guys that I look at and be like, he could never, let's say he never becomes champion, I'll still put him, on the list of the BMFs, so to say. The guys that would just like take the fights that nobody wants to take and win those fights and move along and get close to a title or even win the title. We would never know. His story is not over yet. So, just like your story or whoever else's story that's going on, that's still fighting. But what about Burns, man? He loses last week, right, against Khamzat. Very close fight, lots of violence. And now he has been doing this like media tour of like pushing for a rematch against Khamzat and making it 5 rounds. And I like that about Burns, man. I like that he's doing that, even though he lost. Like some people, they lose, they just kind of like chill out and they say, I have no entitlement to say anything. But Burns is just out there in the media. You would think Khamzat would be out there doing all the interviews and pumping up himself to go fight for the title. But Burns, man, what do you think of that? Like being on the losing end, but then being out in the media, just calling for the rematch that the UFC
like
obviously
the result and the way in which the fight went, it's the right move. It's definitely the right move to call for the rematch, because I feel like a lot of us, or we were sitting here last week going, man, I wonder if that was 5 rounds. Like, that's the first, as soon as that bell rung for the 3rd round, everyone was sitting there going, yeah, I would have liked to see 2 more rounds of that. So it already had like the fan intrigue and the fan interest in having a rematch and running that fight back. So for him to just get out there and say what we're all thinking is definitely the right move. Like, he lost, but his stock has not gone anywhere. Well, he went from number 2 to number 3 in the rank or something like that. Like, he's moved like 1 spot down in the rankings. He's not gone far at all. His stock has not dropped much whatsoever. Saying that he wants to fight Khamzat and then Khamzat like being forced to respond, like sets that fight up for later as well. You know what I mean? Like, say Khamzat does win the title, then that sets up the title fight, and that's constantly what you want to do as a fighter is set up your next fight, is set up your next paycheck. That's the best. That's what he's doing. He's setting up some pretty big future paychecks. But Gilbert Burns has always been one of the gamest guys in the division. He's always been super active. He's always thrown his name in the hat for short notice fights, last minute fights, the guy fights no one wants to get, and to have his title shot off of that has been pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah, it has been impressive, and he's created it all, like you just said.
Sheesh,
Shit, I thought
sheesh,
it
man.
having one of
For a
those
ride, I got a
earthquakes,
funny message.
one of
I'm
those
holding, I'm
trembles.
holding it together. Yeah, it's definitely not it. Mate, we're not in Christchurch. This for everyone watching. This is what's holding the show together. You understand that? I just got a message. I just got a message. And it's gone. Well, I have to change it up. Man, I should really. I'm gonna start taking photos of like
The
the different
setups.
ways, the different setups that I go through as a fighter, like for interviews, because
Yeah.
I've stacked some shit on top of shit. I'm telling you right now, I've done some pretty dangerous. Like I'm standing there, and there's like a wine glass, leaning on a book, holding it together with like a toothpick jammed, and I'm just like thinking, I'm like doing the interview, talking, thinking, I really not hopeful that this doesn't fall apart and smash
It's like
right
one of
now.
those things where, like, like they shoot the dominoes down and it like
Yeah,
clips down
yeah.
and hits the
I'm just
fucking
sitting there
nail.
like actually distracted by the thing that I've used to prop up my to prop up my interview.
Or
I'm gonna
impressed
get I'm
by it,
gonna
right? You could be
I'm gonna
impressed
I'm
by
gonna
yourself
I'm gonna invest in
in
some
a
actual.
tripod or
Have you got
something.
a pro? You got a yeah. You got a pro? Yeah, you could just. I could do it that easy, right? I was gonna say podcast room, but I could just get a tripod. That would be like a step forward in the right direction, right?
It would be. It would be. I think all you need is like one of those little tripods and the little mics that you could poke into, and you could mount it on the top.
It would definitely up my game. Well, I did it up my game and I got the AirPod things. My wife got me
Yeah,
the AirPod things for Christmas. My one say this. This was like an accident. Let's see if I can.
Lady Cha.
Lady Cha. I think
Lady Cha.
it was like because my wife got them and obviously didn't open the box or anything because it was sealed. Like
Mhm,
this is from iPod,
mhm.
but they came like personalized with Lady Cha, and I was like thinking I thought that was weird when I opened it. I was like, did my wife write Lady Cha on my? I was like, how does that correlate to me? Or I was thinking, did she buy secondhand earpods? I was like, oh, these things kind of new. Who would be selling? But nah, it's like just iPod. iPod fucked me up. iPod iPod dropped the ball and gave this Lady
So
Chard. Let's just say Lady Chard didn't get her personalized
her,
AirPods. I have
then
one feeling
she's walking around with Dan Hooker iPods.
mine weren't personalized. Hers has
Oh,
got
okay,
nothing on them. You know,
okay.
at least I know now when I see this, when I see the Lady Chars, I know that those are my AirPods, so I can keep
Whoever is
things
Lady
moving.
Cha, please get into contact with me.
Get in touch with me. You're not gonna get them back, but I would just like to know. You know what I mean? Like, because I've obviously imagined this in my head over time who this person is.
Mhm.
Lady Cha. Lady Cha. I'm sure she's nice. Get in touch if you're watching the AllStar MMA post
Yeah,
fight show.
yeah. Lady Cha, if you're watching, get in contact. We'll,
She's from New York as well. It was in New York, so we got a pretty big world to we got a pretty big world to. I'm sure if it was in
yeah,
Auckland,
that's a trip, man. How they mix that up.
I would be able to find Lady Cha, but I've
Yeah.
I was that the Apple Store drop the ball, drop the ball on Christmas too. It's a shame, really.
It is a shame. With the main event, anything you saw in that fight that was like particularly effective for Mohammed?
Oh, just the movement.
Mm,
Like he was able to dictate where the fight took place because of his ability to move. Like Vicente obviously wanted to get on the front foot, maybe pressured it a little close, maybe rushed it half a step more than he potentially should have. Um, but yeah, I would say the fight came down to Bilal's movement and his ability to dictate where the fight took place. Vicente wasn't able to cut him off the way that he would have liked to, or the way that I guess he would have expected to be able to, because Belal showed a new feather in his cap, because he kind of showed. Obviously, he moves well, but this was just he was moving well and laying traps at the exact same time, which was super effective in this case.
Yeah, like you said, round of applause for
Little
Belal
tidy little
Mohammed.
tidy little clap. That's what we
Yeah,
call that one.
the
Just like
golf
a
clap.
just a classy one. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just a I
civilized.
appreciate civilized. I appreciate the subtle improvements you've made in your game.
Yeah, definitely,
A
man.
bit
I
of
agree with you.
a, a bit of class.
Yeah.
I tip my hat.
Well,
I tip
well,
my
in the
hat, good
welterweight,
sir.
yeah, you're. What happened to the our tinfoil hats? Man, we got to bring those back eventually with our conspiracies. No
I've
conspiracies
got.
lately.
I don't have the tinfoil hat. I've got. That's what I have at the gym. I have night vision goggles.
What are you using those for? That is an
I just
impressive
attack.
setup.
I just attack people in the dark. They're my reflection. The lights go out. If the lights go out, shit starts to go down at the gym. I've got night vision goggles. You know what I mean?
Alongside some swords and special ops stand.
I have
That's the
swords.
new one. Special ops stand.
I
Gotta
don't know
see
what's
what you
around
got.
here.
What else you
I got
got?
I got crutches. I got protein powder.
Just an assortment of goods.
Just an assortment of
Yeah,
shit, really.
when I look at that welterweight division, like of course Kamaru is probably going to end up fighting Leon. I hope that happens. I'm hoping that nobody gets jumped over or whatever. But
Why does
Leon,
everyone think that it's gonna continually fall apart? Like, didn't Dana White shake his hand man to man and say you're all getting the next shot? Like, I can't. But everyone's still like, he might still get fucked. I feel like
I
it's
think
beyond
this.
that. I feel like it's beyond that.
All right. Well,
Unless he gets
I hope.
injured. I feel like if he gets injured, he's gonna get fucked.
Yeah. I hope he gets the title shot, and then they put Hamzat versus Colby, and then Bilal versus Burns. It all lines up pretty good. You know what I mean? Like pretty well. Like the next few
It
months.
all lines up. All those fights sound pretty incredible.
Yeah,
Busy,
they're great.
busy little welterweight division.
Yeah, every division is pretty busy. In the co-main event, like you said earlier about the contender series guys, they had a huge opportunity, a huge platform to go out there and perform, and it kind of ended in some controversy. Um, I guess Godzi, the Russian wrestler, he was kneed while he was on the ground as a grounded opponent, and then that was in the third round. But before that, pretty much the Brazilian Caio, he dominated the fight because of the knee. I guess the doctor went in, asked him, "Could you continue?" And or the doctor said he can continue if he wants to continue. Like he gave him the responsibility to make the decision of continuing or not continuing. And from what I remember, is the fighter said he can't continue, and then everybody's like, "It's Aljo again. It's out," and but it doesn't matter. They went to the judges because they already fought like more than half the fight. Kyle gets the decision win, so the guy that was winning the fight wins the decision. What'd you think of that
Oh,
whole situation?
yeah, it was like a weird one because obviously, man, there's so many. So you need to understand, like, depending on what state you're fighting in, will be like what rules you're under. Like, so that knee in particular, where his hand was out but wasn't carrying any weight. There's like some states that the weight, your body weight, would have to be on the hand for it to count as a downed opponent. But he to me, he kind of just looked like his fingers down. But that is illegal in Vegas. Like, that's obviously an illegal knee. And there was one earlier in the fight where he that was like a very illegal knee, and he pulled that knee and didn't throw that knee. But yeah, it's a funny situation. It's a funny situation because the sport is like, well, it's evolving more into like a mainstream sport with some pretty stringent. I feel like 10 years ago, no one would do that. You know what I mean? No one would. Everyone, we were like just about like be a man, like get back out there, be tough, like
Yeah.
prove yourself. Like that was the sport 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It was just about being like a tough guy, and no one would take it. You know, everyone had their honor. Everyone was, but now it's kind of progressing into like more of a professional sport, and you see it a bit more. And you see like even the savvy veterans, like when Diego Sanchez did it, like no one was well, I personally wasn't like mad about it. I thought it was quite a veteran savvy move. That was a fight he wasn't gonna win. Oh, that was teetering on the end, brother.
Yeah, that
That
was
was going down. Stop messaging me. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, and you saw Diego Sanchez like asking, right? Diego Sanchez like, am I gonna win if I feel like this guy, the Russian cat, should have asked a few more questions. I would have said, is he gonna DQ him, or is it gonna go to a technical decision? Like, he should have asked the translator that, like, one or two questions more, and then just say, nah, you're not gonna. Well, then you're gonna know, right? Well, I got 1 minute to go out there and win this fight because I've obviously lost the first 2 rounds. So yeah, you can. It's a prickly situation. You know what I mean? Like Aljo's one, especially like that was a fight-ending knee. Like, there was no. If he would have just stood up and just said, "Nah, I'm gonna be a tough guy. I'm gonna carry on. I'm gonna go back out there," and Peter Yan hits him with a jab and knocks him out, everyone would have gone, like, you're a dickhead. You're concussed. You're getting hit with punches. And then you got knocked out because you carried on after the illegal strike after already being concussed. Like, all he had to do was like, that was a fight-ending knee. This knee, it was quite a funny one. Like, he kneed him. It's funny because I saw in the replay, like, he knees him, he catches him with it. The guy looks, and then goes, "Oh, that was illegal." Oh, like, and then kind of fell down. So it's up to each individual fighter. Be savvy. I appreciate the savvy vet asking a few questions, doing the MMA math in his head, trying to figure out if he's gonna win.
I like the look. The look, you could read the
eyes.
The
look, and then he's like,
Yeah. It's like that look, like, yo, you didn't see that, ref? Yo, come on.
Didn't see that, ref?
Do something. Come on, man. Like bail me out a little bit right here. Come on, dude. Like, let's you know the rules, right? Yeah, I think that's the most important, Dan, is that if you go to this state or this country, the rules are different, the regulation is different, and it just confuses the hell out of everybody, because it's you made an important point. It's becoming more of a professional sport compared to 10 years ago. And because it's a professional sport, more of a professional sport, you have to like know every single detail, what rules work here, you have to know these things. I think a lot of times when rule meetings happen, fighters are not really paying attention too much.
I'm not paying attention at all. When the referee comes out back and he goes, "Do you have any questions for me?" I say, "Nah, I don't have any questions for you." Like, because I'm going to play it how I'm going to play it. You know what I mean? Like, the fight is going to turn it. Like, it's to me as a fighter, it's gentleman's agreement until the other guy crosses the line. You know what I mean? So it's a funny one. Like, there was obviously the Anthony Smith, like, John Jones situation, which 99% of people have completely forgotten about that. You know what I mean? And like, Anthony Smith got up, carried on the fight, lost the decision. Did he lose the decision to get stopped? See, I can't even remember. You know what I mean?
I think he lost the decision.
And he says, "Man, I can leave with my pride." You know what I mean? I can leave with my pride. Yeah, or you could have left with a couple more $1 million. That's up to you. You know what I mean? You've already proved, like, Anthony Smith's already proven he's a tough guy. He's already proven, like, he's a hard guy. Going out there and being a savvy vet, like, no one threw like real shade at Diego Sanchez. We all knew what he was doing, right? We all knew exactly what Diego Sanchez was doing. But you have to like respect that as well. He's already proven how tough he is. Now he's proven how savvy he is.
Well, when you look back on that Anthony Smith situation, you know, I don't think anybody would have really blamed him for not continuing and winning the title, because the way I look at it is, like you said, there's the possibility of becoming a multimillionaire with that decision. And then on top of that, you get another camp to prepare for John Jones, because you know they're going to do the immediate rematch and come out there a better fighter to be ready for John Jones, because you do have some data from the first fight.
Pay-per-view points for the rematch. Pay-per-view points for the rematch. My man Chael Sonnen said he would have come out taking that belt and wouldn't have given him the damn rematch. What is that? I beat him fair and square, no rematch. Like that's yeah, I don't know. Like the only people that are going to really criticize you are people that don't genuinely like him anyway, right? Like I can understand Anthony Smith. That's like he had that deal with himself, and in that situation, like I would have to play it by ear. You know what I mean? But if he honestly, like, if Aljo just stood up and Aljo said like, "That's a fighting knee. Like I'm now concussed. I don't want to win the title like this. But obviously this is not my mistake. He made the mistake. I'm now the champion. I'll give him his rematch, and let's move on with it." I feel like everyone would have just gone, "Oh yeah, no, that makes sense." Like, because it does make sense. It was not Aldo's fault in any way. He needed neck surgery after, which obviously complicated it. And so it's just like, yeah, I feel like if these guys just be honest about the situation, that the fans will actually understand it. You know what I mean? Or what? The couch potato at home is going to be like, "No, you should be a man." It's like, when are you a man? You know what I mean?
When are you a man?
Show me your fights. You know what I mean? Show me where you've gone out on your shield. Like it's easy to say. It's very easy to say, but it's not wise. It's easier. It's easy to do, but it's not wise.
It's easy to say, "Be a man." That's the easiest thing to say to anybody that's doing something and they don't do
Be
it
tough.
to. Yeah, be tough. Be tough. Be a man. You know, like, who was that comedian? Russell Peters. His dad would always tell him, like, anything he do, be a man. Like, every mistake he made, be a man. Like that's what he would say to him every single time growing up. So that comment is funny. And I think another aspect is that there are people waiting online for you to make a mistake, and then they're waiting to attack you. And it could be any fighter. It could be a fighter on the prelims. It could be that main event fighter. There are people out there waiting for you to make a mistake and just pounce on you. And I think that those are the people that you should worry about the least.
I don't delve into that too much. I don't delve into people or get like upset too much about like people talking. Like, I deal with everything very like face to face. If someone has said something to me and I know them, that's like a completely different story. But one thing you need to understand before you get like upset about people talking bad about you online is there's no mental health check to start a Twitter page. There is no like mental health screening to start like a Facebook. Most people that are out there talking shit like use it's like free therapy for them. It's like a free like a pin cushion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one of those squeeze balls that when you're angry you squeeze the ball until you like lose all your aggression. People use social media as like their squeeze ball. They're angry about how their life's going, so they get on any like chink in the armor. They can get out there, throw that hate that they have inside them at other people, and it makes them feel better. You know what I mean? So I don't take it all that personal, because there's a lot of like mental health problems going online, and people just use it. People use it as like a stress release.
I think the UFC could do that kind of like program that they do in like other professional sports, where they gather the athletes and kind of advise them on like, whatever, money management or, sponsorships, or, like, I think that they could benefit from that, both ways. The promotion can benefit and the fighters can benefit, but I'm just asking for something that's never going to happen. So let's move on.
You want
and
the UFC to teach you how to, but what job? Like what job do you go to that teaches you how to be good with your money? Like that's something.
Other leagues, they do that. Other leagues, they have like these like conferences or seminars for for athletes to kind of guide them better and to teach them to be better with their money. Because at the end of the day, it's the money management that's probably the.
I feel like, yeah, it's not, but it's not like how much that comes in. It's like the money that goes out, like where you're spending it. Wasn't it like a ridiculous percentage of NFL athletes and NBA athletes go broke 2 or 3 years after they retire? It's not the money coming in, it's the money going out. So in those particular cases, I can definitely understand why like the league, well, also they have like they have like a union that speaks for them, and they
That's
can
true.
get what they want. That's
That's true.
that's like a very
That's
important. That's like a very important detail.
big difference. Big difference is when you do have that union. But yeah, that's another rabbit hole we could go down for 15 hours if we really wanted to. Um, another thing that happened at this show was the shout out to the Irish mob boss.
Whose fight was that? I didn't see that one. I watched.
Munir.
Was it on the?
Munir Laziz, a guy
Yeah.
based out of Dubai, I believe, or Abu Dhabi. Welterweight, pretty flashy. I've been watching him.
I did see the fight. I did
Mhm.
see the fight. Yes, very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, he's very good.
I didn't hear the shout out. You shouting out some gangsters?
Yeah, he's shouting out some gangsters, man. Well, one of the biggest gangsters. From what I saw, he's an Irish mob boss. They're looking for him. The DEA has a $5 million bounty. The DEA, the U.S. DEA, has a $5 million bounty. So it shows you how a massive of a figure he is. And then the U.S. has actually sanctioned him. Like I've heard the U.S. sanction like countries, but sanctioning an individual, I don't think I've ever heard that before. But unique situation.
I've definitely heard about that NTK Global. They've got like a number of gyms throughout the world sponsored. Like they have a management company. They sponsor a lot of fighters throughout the world. But you need to understand that a lot of our sports mainstream, right? Our sports like mainstream, right?
Mm.
But do we get like real mainstream sponsors, like individual athletes? Do they receive like mainstream sponsors? Like I would say, besides like supplements, crypto, fight gear, and like energy drinks, like sponsors are not like like they are when you compare them to other actual mainstream sports, when they're getting like all these major brands, major clothing companies. Homeware's like the list goes on about the kind of sponsorship opportunities that are out there for a mainstream sport player. So I would say that these, like when a guy comes along and offers you, like I'm sure this guy's paying them well and looking after these fighters, it's hard to turn it down. It's like the same situation with the Chechen bloke. Like he's looking after these guys' lives. He's making it easier for them to go out there and train. You have to appreciate that or respect that in a sport that doesn't have that kind of people looking out for you that mainstream sports do. Bring back Condom Depot. Bring back Condom Depot.
Bring back Condom Depot on that ass, right? Just all across the ass cheeks. But it's money, man. What is it? What dynamic?
Right, dynamic fastener. Write me up like a NASCAR, baby. I'm ready to go. I want to go full Polish MMA. Have you seen Polish MMA where they get the temporary tattoos? They get the temporary tattoos like across their giant steroided back, and they just carry on fighting. That's the best one. They go halfway through the round, and the back of their sponsors like been smudged off. That is incredible. Right all over me. Yeah. I'll get a Nike tick on my forehead if they pay me enough. I do not care.
I was watching something. I forgot what it was. It was probably like Idiots of America or something like that. But there was a guy, he like these companies like, I don't know, Burger King. Let's say Burger King. The Burger King paid him to tattoo Burger King on his face for 5 years. And that's what he was doing for money. Like he would be tattooing like logos on him and getting paid for it on his face and neck. And I'm just like,
tats.
Man, would you want a Burger King tattoo on your forehead? And he had a few of them, not just Burger King. He had a couple of them, but even like local businesses. I think
I've seen the guy. Yeah, I think I've seen the guy. Yeah. I'd probably shout him out at Combat Academy. If I'm being honest, if this guy was floating around Auckland, I'd probably pay him for I'd probably want to get my business on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
good marketing.
Yeah. It is. It's not bad. Put it on across the the nose, you know, like just straight across.
I'd want the
Just,
nose. I want the nose. I want prime real estate. I want prime real estate, mate. I don't want
We'll
back of the
see.
neck. I don't want
If
back
you're
of the neck
watching,
like a bum.
yes, if
I
you're
will
watching
pay
the
you.
AllStar,
If you're watching the AllStar, I will pay you a very small amount to get one of my business's names tattooed on your face.
you know,
Hit me
going
up.
back to, yeah, definitely would. I would love to see that. You know, I'd actually probably throw some money on that too. You know, like just to help out the gym and help the guy out. You know, what I mean, if you need money to tattoo stuff on your face,
Hey,
you
if
probably
you
have
need
some.
that money, if you need the money that bad, friend, nah, I'm actually gonna get people to hit me up. We've been under this. Don't send me a message. I don't read my messages.
And you know, the whole thing with this guy, this mob boss, is when they put that up there, and you know, Twitter was going a little crazy over it. I actually like looked up some mob fighting connection thing, you know what I mean? And I guess it's been happening since the 1930s, like mobsters being involved with like boxers and their coaches and matchmaking and fixed fights and all kinds of stuff that was going on since the 1930s. That's pretty insane. You know, like you always hear these stories, right, about like guys running promotions and then they have like a little side street stuff going on, or you know, you just hear it, you don't never see it, but sometimes you see it, you know, there's arrests being made and stuff like that. But what about you? Have you heard anything like in the New Zealand, Australian scene, like, you know, there's some mob figures involved in the fight scene?
Nah, we're clean as a whistle down here, mate. Clean as a whistle.
All right,
Clean as a whistle. I haven't heard anything. I've heard of it overseas in America and all those faraway places, but in New Zealand, I haven't seen any criminal activity associated with my sport.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, that's good, man. Clean as a whistle. I just been hearing some things about there's a certain promotion. You know, I don't want to like get a lawsuit or something like that, but there's a certain promotion, you know, in Australia, New Zealand, that I just been hearing some stuff about you know, one of their figures or whatever, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. You know what I mean? There's some stuff going on there, so
haven't heard a thing, if I'm being honest.
Well, I guess I'll let you know.
You keep me posted.
Yeah,
know
I'll
what
let
I mean?
you know.
And I'll pass it on. I'll pass it on to the authorities as soon as anyone tells me.
All right. Well, with what is it? What else we got here? Yeah, this show, like you said, there was a you know, not as much hype, so to say, behind the show, but there were some decent performances. Even that what was the fight before the co-main event? You had what is it? Fiallo versus Beza. Beza was actually
that was a good fight.
Yeah, that was a very good fight. Beza is like one of those like rising prospect dudes, and Fiallo, his second fight in the UFC, goes in there and you know, takes Beza out. Beza has way more experience, not as many fights, but way more UFC experience. And I think this dude's a problem, man. This Fiallo. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I thought the last three fights like really delivered. You know what I mean? Like these guys rose to the occasion. They definitely everyone in those last three fights was getting a pretty big opportunity from the co-main event, main event, and then that pre-co-main event.
Yeah,
is that a thing?
I don't know.
Co-main event. But no, very impressive, you know, comeback. I thought he was starting to get peppered a bit in that first round, but then he started slipping the right hand, countering with the left hook, and that really set his opponent on his heels. So it was, man, look forward to look forward to both of those guys getting back out.
Yeah, that was a really good welterweight fight. Welterweight
What's
division.
the next card? Like the Gagey one's not for how many weeks?
I think 3 weeks.
The Gagey Oliver's 3 weeks, and then the next weekend we got a card, right? That's the
strawweights
fight. That's the Andrade fight.
Andrade.
What other fights are on that card?
All right, let me check it out. Let me check.
You're the guy that can function more than one device at a time. I'm stuck on this one device. You know what I mean? I got a
Let's
computer
see.
here.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
even know.
So we
Don't even know how
got
to
next
turn it
week. We
on.
got Lemos and Andrade, and then after that we got Font versus Vera, and then we have
Oh,
274.
some
So
good fights
next
coming up.
week, the next couple of cards, to be honest with you, are kind of similar to like this card tonight. You know, a lot of newer fighters, matched up against veterans or not as. Oh, actually, next week Tyson Pedro is back.
Oh, 3 years, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, he's been gone for a long time.
2018, 2019. My guy, back in there.
Was he with you guys for a little period?
He come over here. He came over here for a bit, but then obviously, New Zealand is just a very closed off island. It's very difficult to come here, so he wasn't able. He wasn't able to come over and train. I think they're letting Australians in the end of last week. So I think he's got like intentions to come over here and train more with the guys because we're getting a few bigger guys now with Carlos and stuff like that. But yeah, I think after this fight, his intention is to make his way over and do a little bit of training over here once he's done. Good man, good fighter, well rounded. I'm excited to see him get back in the mix.
Yeah, man, I'm happy for him that he made it back. Like what he went through, most people could have just shut it down and been like, "Man, I'm done."
I can't even speak from there. Like that. I've never had such a serious. I've had like some stupid shit. I've had a broken orbital. That's like if you break a bone, I'm not too fussed about that. It's like 6 weeks or something. 6 weeks, like a month off, and then back to it. Like that's like a couple of months. We're talking about like knee. He's had what was it, 2 or 3 like knee reconstructions. Like very few professional athletes come back from something like that. So even him coming back from that and getting back in the mix, like with guy like him stepping on the scale, stepping in the cage, is incredibly impressive. You know what I mean? For him to knock that ring rust off and get a win, I'll be blown on my heels.
Yeah, he has a good matchup too. He's facing Ike Villanueva, who likes to just come in there and throw bombs at whoever is facing him.
What is that? I want to ask you because you're the man with the scoop. You are the Ariel Hawani of this piece of news. You're breaking it first. I saw you break it. So I'm coming to you for the information. What's the series that they've got? Is that debuting on the Singapore card?
Yeah, that week. So from what I know is
it's like a contender series.
It's like a contender series. Yeah, I have to be very careful with my choice of words because somebody will watch this and be like, he said this and he said that. You know how it is, Dan. It's happened to you many of times, right? So
but then I don't look at what people say. So I just say the stupid shit. And then I leave it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It causes a fire for a little bit.
You deal with it. At least I'm just like I just turn my phone off for a bit and don't look at. You know how there's like the 3 bits on Twitter. I just never click on the replies one. If I don't see it like scrolling down my wall, it doesn't exist.
All right. From what I heard, it's like
better for your mental health.
Yeah, it is definitely better for your mental health, man. I've like as myself, like me, like I guess getting into the public eye more and more and more as the years go, I've noticed more and more people just crazy like responses, crazy comments, all of that. And I was just like, all right, I gotta shut that off because if I read those, even though some of them are very entertaining, the ones they'll try to hurt you, like they're trying to hurt you, and that's their intention, and you're just like fuck it. You can
never beat an idiot in an argument. He's gonna drown you with experience.
Exactly, idiotic experience, man. That's you can't teach that, It's so. So from what I heard is like it's like a combination of the Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter, right? So I think they did it in Japan, and I believe they also did it in China and years ago, where it was like the Ultimate Fighter, but it was like the Road to the UFC or Road to UFC. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to create that again, which is tournaments over a 3-month period, and they're all 8-man tournaments, flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight, because it's Asia. There's not many like
Bigger guys.
welterweights. Yeah, there's not many of those like heavyweights or anything like that in Asia. So they're trying to find out like what kind of talent Asia has. So they're gonna put on these 3-month, do or die tournaments. If you win the tournament, you're offered a UFC contract, and it's gonna be
So not
awesome.
it's a 8-man tournament, but you're not fighting the 3 fights in the one night. You're fighting them over 3 different shows.
Yeah, 3 different shows.
And it's not on a UFC event. It's in like a purpose built Apex or something like
Most
that.
likely.
Yeah.
I could see them putting on those events like every time they have a show in Asia. So that means they'll most likely have more shows in Asia because they have to throw those tournaments, every month or whatever. And if they don't, I guess they could just do it at the Apex if they really wanted to, or in Singapore somewhere.
Still, it's difficult. Like rushing, like a lot of visas through is like a difficult thing. So I can definitely understand their reason for wanting to. Man, that's exciting. That's exciting for the. I guess they're like producing a lot of guys at their Shanghai PI, right? Like they've had that open for years now. They've had like their little fight team fighting there for years. So I guess it's like a real opportunity to get those guys fights, get those guys in the UFC octagon, even if it's not the UFC octagon. Like it's pretty similar. There's like the difference between Contender and fighting in the UFC is like the writing on your gloves. This is the only different thing. So it's it's as close as you can possibly get to getting that that real UFC experience. So man, it's exciting times for them. Exciting times for any young fighter that's not snapped up by ONE FC.
It's because most of the fighters right now, they are on these long-term deals with ONE FC, and tournaments are back. Like everybody always complained about the UFC never does tournaments. Why did they not do tournaments? And you hear it online. They're like, and then when I released that, everybody's like, "Oh my god,
That was
I'm about to,
that was my favorite.
bust in my pants."
That was my
There's
favorite
tournaments.
impersonation of, I guess, the fans, right?
Yeah.
You guys, what are you doing?
Well, that's what I hear in my head. You know what I mean?
Like, that's what you sound like. That's you. That's what you sound like at home. Tournaments are cool though. I love a good tournament. I fought in kickboxing. I fought in 8-man. It's fun. It's fun. Like running it back to back to back a night. Like that is fighting. That is fun. Like that is hard to do at like the highest level, just because you would just get so bashed up and like destroyed. But also at like a lower level.
Yeah. Also, I think like with the tournament, it allows the fans to kind of understand or get more knowledge of the fighter when they go through the tournament. It's only 3 fights. It's 3 fights and you win the tournament and you move on and to the UFC. So if you have those 3 fights in that tournament, it kind of gives you 3 fights to let the fans familiarize themselves with you and your style, and they could use those highlights to pump you up into your debut. Yeah, I love it. I think it's going to be great to see. And people have been asking me like, is it just Asian fighters? And from what I know, from my knowledge, is all the fighters that I've heard that's going to be in the tournament, they're all Asian. But I guarantee you they're going to bring in, I don't guarantee anything, but if the UFC was smart, they would bring in a lot of the fighters from Australia and New Zealand to be in the tournament, because it's not that far away.
Bring us in, baby. I got names. I know
you got. I know you got a guy.
Bring him in.
What's his nickname?
Toes him
Tap
up.
him. Toes him up. Yeah. Like first name would be Toes him up.
It's because explaining that, like, that's like a real Kiwi thing. To that the name, like, a lot of people from a lot of different countries. That's gonna be a funny one when he like makes it to the UFC to like explain in his video, be like, explain it to the Americans. I remember being like my first couple of UFC events and like explaining some of the things you do to like the Americans and them looking at you just like, what? Just to have him explain toes them up. So it's like when you knock someone out, right? And they fall back, obviously their
toes them up.
their toes go up. So if we're like, that's what we say like over here in New Zealand, like, oh, you toes them up. You toes them up, which means you beat them, you knocked them out so bad that he went toes up, baby.
I just think that he would be a great fighter to put into the tournament, man. Why not? You know what I mean? Why not bring in like all the fighters from New Zealand? Because when they were gonna do the contender, the Chinese contender series at the Shanghai before, you know, the virus exploded all over our faces. They were talking about bringing in, you know, fighters from Australia and New Zealand, and then it got all shut down because of the pandemic. But
yeah, like we kind of do, like that's like our next step. Like Kiwis and Australians get sick of fighting each other, and like the next step is usually Asia, right? Like a lot of fighters spend time in Thailand, getting better. There's just a ton of New Zealand and Australian guys in Thailand, and they fight like throughout that region. They get jobs in the gyms, like they get the skill and experience, and then they bring it back to New Zealand, bring it back to Australia. So there is like a pretty long history and of that connection there of competing against each other. So yeah, why not? Why not to get yourself in the UFC? You know what I mean?
Yeah. People are gonna forget, but Legend FC, man. If you go look at their roster of the people that fought at Legend FC, there's a reason why it's called Legend.
I actually caught up with Mike Heskamp. He was the promoter for that show. So he was really? One of the two promoters. I caught up with him because he was I saw that he was in London. He like hit me up and he's just like, hey man, like I heard you're coming to London, like and then we caught up for like a coffee on Fight Week. So it was pretty cool to like see that because he's obviously been the promoter for that show. He's seen everyone develop. Like he had Kai come through that show. He had me, like the Leech came through that show. Like there's a number of like guys that have made it onto the UFC or Whitaker through that show. Like there's some pretty massive names from our region come through that show. So it's cool to like get like the promoter's side of the story from all of those things because like obviously the show kind of fell apart and that was like a business deal that they had. Go like, it's good. Like as a fighter, you don't, and as me as a 22-year-old, like I didn't even understand, you know, like they just said, oh Dan, do you want this contract in Asia? And I was just like, what? They're gonna pay me actual money to fight someone? I was just like, yeah, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like, didn't even read the 20-page contract, just like signed away and jumped on the plane because you're a complete numbnuts at 22 years old. But yeah, it was cool to get like his side of events. So very cool to catch up with Mike Heskamp in London.
Yeah, I believe Audi that runs Paradigm. He owns that promotion now, and they just
I asked him about that because I think we've been through this. I feel like I just had a deja vu moment. But I asked him, and he was unsure about that. Okay. I don't know. Maybe he did.
Maybe.
Good guy. Odie, good guy.
But yes, if they do ever write like the history of like Asian MMA, Legend FC will definitely have a chapter, a decent chapter of like the fights that they had there. You can watch the fights on YouTube, man. Go there if you have never watched
Legend FC. Crazy fights. Jadamba versus Adrian Pang.
Yeah. Shout out to Adrian Pang. I think he has one of the best chins out there.
Adrian Pang versus absolutely anyone. He fought on what's that guy's name? Korean guy. Pitbull. What's his name?
Korean Pitbull. Soduwan.
There's Namcho Yu.
Yeah, Namchuri. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He fought in the UFC too.
He fought Peng. Nah, I think he's fighting like Road FC or something like that.
No, he did
Nah,
fight
I
in the
don't
UFC
know.
though.
I don't know.
For, like he had like 2 or
Oh,
3
did he
fights
get
in the
his crack?
UFC. Yeah, after
Man.
Legend.
Yeah, go and watch any of Adrian Pang's fights in Legend FC, and you will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the goat of our region when I was coming up, man.
Yeah, Adrian Pang, man. Still fighting too. Just
Still
need to,
active.
yeah, still active.
Still active. Ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. What else is there? Oh yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on something from last week. You know, I mean, the pay-per-view is you know, you've went up to 155, competed at the top of the division. Now Volkanovski's talking about maybe, you know, it's my turn. Maybe I should go up there and fight for the title. You know what I mean? I think if the situation, you know, twists and turns a certain
I'll tell
way.
you right now, Cobb, couldn't make 45 if I wanted to. Couldn't make 45 if I wanted to, baby.
Now you're gonna have people writing up all kinds of stuff like Dan's never going back to 145. It's over for him.
Hey,
Now he's gonna be at
couldn't
185.
Couldn't if I wanted to.
Yeah.
We hulking, we bulking.
Yeah, for sure.
Volk can fight at 55 for sure. Volk can fight at 55. It just has to be worth it. You know what I mean? Like he's a champion. Why would a champion move up and just fight? You know what I mean? He'd move up for a title shot, and if things get a bit messy in the division or things get a bit slow, I don't see why not. You know what I mean? I don't see why that's not a strong possibility for him.
I think it is a very strong possibility if Holloway doesn't step up to whatever challenge that they put in front of him against Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski said he wants to be back by the end of the summer and most likely against Holloway. But if that doesn't happen, yeah, I believe that he should, even if it's not for the title, but if a champion's going to go up, they got to fight for the title, right? It's not like, why would you go up and fight somebody that's, you know, if you're holding the belt at 145, why would you go up and fight somebody that's not holding the
belt? It's gotta make sense. You know what I mean?
It does gotta make sense, but
yeah, I think like that's like that Volk beats Holloway for a third time like that. You beat a guy 3 times, like that's come on. You gotta beat a guy 4 times. You know what I mean? Like you prove. I don't care how close the damn thing is. You beat him 3 times. You've proved you're the better fighter. You're hands down, signed, sealed, delivered. You proved it. And I feel like he beats Holloway. He's like answered for a third time. He's answered every question he could possibly have at 45. Obviously, new contenders are going to develop, but to develop a new contender takes a bit of time. So I feel like, man, after that next Holloway fight, I feel like there'll be a real question that starts to get asked, like, what can Volk do at 55?
What does that, man, you beat somebody 3 times. What do they have to do to even just get another shot at fighting you? You know what I mean? Like that's, even fighting somebody 3 times after losing twice is difficult to do, to jump in that position. But Max has done it, right? He's went out there and won fights and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't mind seeing it. I don't know. At 155, who do you think would be like a really like solid matchup for Volk? You know, I mean, you've trained with him, you know, you've been around him, you've fought the best of the division. What would be like just a great fight? I'm not saying like he would go in there with all the advantages or whatever, just a great matchup.
Any of them, really. I think he could beat any of them, any of the top guys on that at 55. I think I feel like he can beat them. I just think it's got to be worth it, you know. That's all I'm saying.
The next title fight is Gaethje versus Oliveira. So if Volk does go up, he'd have to fight the winner of that one, right? Because whoever wins or loses, I feel like it's not going to get a rematch. They're just going to move on with the division most likely. And man, I would love to see Gaethje versus Volkanovski, man. I think
that's a great fight. That's a fight I think Volkanovski walks away with.
And I feel like that would, like, he's a star in the sport, but I feel like that fight on pay-per-view main event would launch him way further, than he's ever been as a
champ,
commodity. Yeah, and champ. Like, I get goosebumps, man, when I hear fighters chasing after those types of things, man. I like that. I like to see fighters do that.
And he's
man,
the kind of
going up
guy
and
that
down.
is like, he's the kind of guy that would do something like that. I do feel like that's an incredibly strong possibility that we see that by the end of the year. By the end of the year, champ.
He's
me
right
up.
now he's doing this like media tour in the US, right? So I'm believing, this is my thoughts, is like he's doing this media tour and there's a purpose behind this whole media tour. It's not like he's doing it for shits and giggles, right? He's doing this for a purpose to get the fight that he wants. I mean, I think he's deserved it now, to where he's beaten, and defended the title this many times, to where he can kind of go out there and demand some things. You know what I mean? I'm not saying not in the media, but in the boardroom, so to say, in the negotiations, and doing this media is going to help him, I believe. I think it's going to be an interesting year for Volkanovski this year. You know what I mean?
This is incredibly smart business from the champ. Champ, you get every person that clicks and pays their money to see you fight. You get $1 or a couple of dollars. You know what I mean? So it's good business to go out there and to do a media tour and get more people paying attention to you, get more people interested in your story and who you are as a fighter, and get that level of understanding. So the next time that you fight, they're more inclined to click and you get more money. It's just good business to go on a media tour as a guy that's going to be a champion and gets money from the people clicking on eyeballs. Me, no pay-per-view. No media tour. I go home. I get paid to show up for work. And that's it. I'm gonna go home after.
Yeah, the media tour thing is it's a rare thing in MMA right now, right? There's only a few fighters that do it, that probably has the management companies that are capable to kind of put it together, or whatnot, whatever. But he's doing it, and I think it's very smart. And as other fighters coming up to see what's going on with like Volkanovski, it's and even your teammate Adesanya, they can learn a lot from what's going on, and being at the top, and staying at the top, and getting the fights that you need and the money that you want and all of that good stuff. Axe flips it on us. What if it's Oliveira that wins? Then I say Volkanovski fights Oliveira. I like that fight too. I think that's an interesting fight. I think the Ortega fight was a great fight to kind of like set him up to fight Oliveira, even though Oliveira's a much better fighter than Ortega. But I think it was a great experience for Volkanovski to take in and fight Oliveira. What do you think about the Oliveira fight? Oliveira is just a guy that I think a lot of people just don't understand. Like, what did he do?
Well, that's a pretty similar, yeah. Like you're saying, like that. What if it's Oliveira? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to hear you say it, X. This is how I'm gonna say it. What if it's Oliveira? He just beat two guys that fight like Oliveira, like tall in their stance, will strike with you, take them down. They're incredible off their backs with their jiu-jitsu. He just beat Brian Ortega. He just beat Korean Zombie in the dominant fashion, and he has a very similar style. It's not like Charles Oliveira is the biggest 55er in the world. The guy's made 45 a bunch of times. Like I would say that they step in there at 55, or they step on the scale at 55. Volk weighs more than Oliveira when they step in the ring. Like I would put money on that as a bet. Like the guy he's thick. He's thick.
Yeah,
that's an incredibly winnable fight, regardless if it's Gagey or Oliveira. I would like to see Volk challenge for that title before the end of the year.
Yeah,
champ.
That's a fun one. Did we talk about Kai's fight recently? Last week? Did we talk? I don't think we talked about that, man. Did we?
Askarov?
Yeah, Askarov. And Askarov already has another fight lined up.
Oh
with
yeah, who's he
with
against?
Alex Perez, right? Another guy that's kind of he fought for the title and then lost a couple and now he's coming
Yeah,
back up. But I think
nice.
Askar he needs that fight like to get back into the mix right away. Kai, he's in a position where he could kind of sit back a little bit, right, and see what happens.
See what happens, right? Like, see, he gets the next title shot. I don't think he's got to fight. He's not going to fight anyone else. And it's whether it's he gets that title shot next and he jumps Moreno, or whether he sits and waits. Those guys fight, beat each other up a little bit more, and then he gets out there and competes. Like, he just put 2 fights back to back. It's time to take a little bit of time, rest, and he's earned his title shot. You know what I mean? Beating the number 1 contender and knocking out Cody Garbrandt, like being on their 2-3 knockout streak and then beating the number 1 contender. Like, he gets after that fight, he gets the next title shot. Like, no one is gonna jump over him. He gets it. He just needs to chew and wait, and he gets the title shot.
Yeah, Kai, he's been fighting for so long. He's still so young, but that experience, man, I feel like that's what separates him from a lot of these guys. And also, coming up, he was beating the hell out of bantamweights the whole time. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't really fighting
He
at
debuted against,
flyweight.
I think it was 17. I think he was 17 years old when he had his made his pro debut, and that was at lightweight. He fought a guy at like 72 kilos, I think. So it was like over lightweight. He only weighed in like 68. Like he didn't even make the weight of the other guy. Like and he beat him. He took him. He won. Like that guy, Kai's been through like one of the hardest roads to get to a title shot that I've seen. Like his journey has definitely been a tough one, and it's not been smooth sailing. Like he's definitely Kai deserves every opportunity that he gets for sure.
Yeah, I've known Kai for a little bit now, and it almost seems like he's coming out his shell now. Like his personality and being like more outspoken, and because if you speak with Kai, it's just like he's pretty chill. I mean, he likes to banter and joke around and stuff like that, but he's not going to be out there like making crazy claims and shit like that. It's just he's who he is. But it seems like it's opening up a little bit more, and he's able to like say things that get into the media and kind of circulate around, which is important in this sport, man. I feel like you do have to say those things. And watching Kai, and he looks probably the same as he did when he debuted at 17, right? His face probably hasn't really changed. Like he looks so young, right? Like even back then.
Baby face.
And he's a legend FC veteran. That's another legend FC veteran right there, Kai.
He is. I
think what was he, like 20 when he was fighting in Hong Kong?
Probably not even that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, if I'm 22, yeah, he would have been like 20, 19, 20 when he was fighting in Legend.
Yeah.
Man.
And it's like you guys are all doing your own versions of like Bloodsport, because that's what Jean-Claude Van Damme did. Is he flew to Hong Kong and did the Kumite in Hong Kong.
That's like the way that I view it. You know what I mean? Like that's what I get excited about. I get excited about like doing the mad shit, and then it doesn't like. I'm still like living. I feel like the sport's like evolved past it, and I'm still living like the Kumite. I'm still living like the Kumite dream. I'm just like, I just see like the different countries like pop up on the map, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll go there. You know what I mean? I should. Yeah, that's fun to me. It's more fun when it's like that. You know what I mean? It's more fun to me when there's less rules and we have more fun, and we have Japanese walkouts, and we have more fun stuff. You know what I mean? I miss the fun. I miss the fun.
Who was the guy that had the legendary walkouts in Japan? Was it? Man, he would have like straight up dancers and costumes, and he would be wearing the costumes with the dancers, and they would be
There's been some pretty incredible. Sakuraba's got some good ones. You know, when he comes out with everyone's wearing the same outfit, and you can't tell which one's him. Like, just wild Bob Sapp like coming off in the big robes and throwing them off. Man, there's some. I miss the walkouts. You know what I mean? Bring back Japanese MMA. Just throw a sumo wrestler in there. Just chuck him in there. We all know he's going to get beaten to a pulp, but it's fun. You know what I mean? Hey, let's throw a baseball player in there and see how he does. We all know he's going to get beaten up, but let's just see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's just to be sure. We probably know he's going to get melted. Hey, you know what? Let's throw a Mexican wrestler in there with a mask on. Let's throw him in with Crow Cop, because I reckon that's a great idea. Oh, that was Alberto Del Rio. Oh, he got head kicked. Well, we probably saw that coming, but it's just for fun.
Well, they got.
Why don't we need to have more things in the UFC just for fun. Let's throw someone in there from the crowd. I feel like that's what we should do. That's
A raffle?
what we need to do.
A raffle?
That's like what we need to do. It's just an every now and then thing. You know what I mean? For context. Because there's so many people at home and they think, oh man, I could probably do that. Like let's say every month, every 3 months, let's just throw like a guy from the crowd in there with a UFC fighter. He gets like blasted over in like 10 seconds, and then everyone at home can just be like, oh, that's right. No, that's context. Reevaluate. We straighten this up a bit. Things get a bit wild. Things get all over the place. Throw like a normal human being in there with a UFC fight, and we go, oh, that's right. No, that's right. This way is up. This way is left. This way is right. All right, we're back to normal.
Yeah, just put in like whoever they think is the worst fighter on the roster, and then put him against.
Put him with an average Joe. You know what I mean?
In shape, average Joe, and let's see what happens.
The guy could be in shape, lift some weights, hits the bag at the YMCA a couple of times a week. You know what I mean? Think he can handle himself. Just gets Crow Cop.
Just gets his face.
Imagine if he wins, though. You know what I mean? Imagine if he wins.
And then if he wins, then we sign him. You know what I mean? Like, what better story is that? Just being a regular Joe and fighting a UFC fighter and beating him.
Guy from pub. Let's just grab a guy from the pub.
The pub Punisher. You know what I mean? Like, he can drink like 15 pints in an hour. You know what I mean? Like, that shit would be funny.
15 pints, and then still win a UFC fight. You know what I mean? Get him on the mic. Get him on the mic. I'd love to hear him on the mic.
After 15 pints?
It sells some pay-per-views, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, definitely will sell some pay-per-views. Damn, that's it, man. We cracked the code, man. We hit that 90-minute mark somewhat almost. So for the people watching, we'll be back soon. And Dan, hopefully next time we'll have you at the beauty salon or something, you know what I mean, or at the park, at the local park, or
I feel like we're setting the bar now. I need to keep the environment shifting. You know what I mean?
You're like Daniel Kinahan, the Irish mob boss. You can't be in one place for too long.
Can't. Next time you see me, I'm going to be in Dubai. Actually, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not getting on a plane for the next 6 months. So I am not traveling anywhere.
That's good.
Outside of my island. Oh, no, I'm actually going to the South Island. I'm going to the South Island in about 5 weeks. So besides my New Zealand islands, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere.
See? So all these people in the chats asking Dan, where are you fighting? When are you fighting? What weight are you fighting? He just told you for 6 months he's not leaving the island. So basically,
unless you're coming to my island, I'll fight you.
Yeah.
Besides that, I'm not leaving my island.
Yeah.
Combat
Academy.
I'm sick of traveling. Everyone else in New Zealand, not sick of traveling. Me, put my hand up. Sick of it. Sick of getting on planes. Sick of it. It's done.
If you want to see Dan,
see you next week.
Combat Academy. Just go there, take a class, maybe
just
get
go
punched
there,
in the face.
Walk in, just walk in, go, where's Dan? And put your hands up. See what happens.
Get kicked in the head.
Chances are.
Yeah. Somebody will.
Roll your dice. Roll your
Toes
dice,
him up.
baby.
Toes him up. That's what you gotta do.
Get toased up.
All right, everybody. Appreciate your time. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next week.